Here we are with a special bonus episode of the Lost Context podcast. Sort of. Chris Riley happened to be just driving through my town on his trucking route. Actually, that's his truck right there. There he goes. And so we decided to just hang out and have breakfast. And so this isn't a super long or fancy episode, but hey, you get to sit and watch us eat food. And now we drop you without context into this Lost Context hangout.
Yeah, I have been using Twitter a lot more lately. I'm up to, I think, 18 followers now, so I'm hitting the big numbers.
I saw you posted something for the Dungeons and Dragons entrance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny how they co-opted that so quickly. Because, like, the thing was, from what I can gather, at least, I looked down through the hashtags till, like, almost the start of it. And, like, apparently a guy tried to get a job at Wizards of the Coast. And his big pitch was that he wanted to make the next edition like more inclusive and stuff like that, and have like players with disabilities and stuff like that. Because that's what people want in their fantasy games, is a disabled player character and
Rolling
stuff like
his
that. Yeah, exactly. And then like not only just that, you know, but at least have like that kind of artwork in the book. So like maybe a disabled dwarf on crutches or a wheelchair or something, or
Like, you know the numbers. How hard would it be to just factor that in real quick?
Oh, it's not hard at all. In fact, like a bunch of people already do it. Yeah, because the game leaves so much room to homebrew all that kind of stuff, and that's what people at the Wizards of the Coast told him, and like almost half of the people that engaged with him on the internet is just, we already do that.
It's not an exclusive game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's whatever you want it to be.
And so when he didn't get hired, he apparently threw a fit over it and just started this hashtag DNDK.
He probably wasn't even, he probably didn't even believe it himself. He was just trying to get hired.
Absolutely, yeah.
Worm his way in with diversity.
Or even if he did, it's like one of those intangible kind of concept things to where what would this look like if you actually did it? And just if you did it, it would be retarded.
It's kind of like Trump in the Space Force.
Mm-hmm. At least there we have kind of a clue on what it would look like if you actually did it. And all of those are movies where it doesn't go well, like Aliens, Starship Troopers, everything like that.
So then it got hijacked. They said we're going to use this trending hashtag as dungeon.
Yeah, to
entrance.
describe an entrance, or the one I did was
It's kind of a cool idea anyway to do a hashtag like that.
So everybody's describing weird traps on doors, or I go immediately right into it, don't I? Oh right. Or the way I
can't listen to trap music anymore.
Yeah. And so mine was just a lake that the character would jump into, and then you sink down, and then you notice that where the bottom of the lake should be actually looks like another surface, and then you pierce through that and you're in another world. So
like Carboys. Did you watch Carboys?
No.
Oh. There's another one, McElroy series.
Yep, I also did not watch Moving Too Fast. Oh, I kind of want to see it now.
It's not worth it. So I can't remember if I told the story, but I got pancakes. And it reminded me that there was this guy who wasn't in my youth group at church, but he was a friend of a friend who was. And after church one night on Wednesday, we all went out to Perkins, and he got pancakes. And this dude was a jittery dude. He was always fidgeting or bouncing his leg. And so he ordered these pancakes, and they forgot to bring in him his syrup. And I was like, well, you just ask her when she comes back. And he's like, it's okay. He reaches into his coat, and he pulls out a bottle of Magic Shell that you pour on ice cream. Poured it on his pancakes.
Oh, wow.
I think he had carried it into church, and does he just... You're the weird dude.
Pours it on his communion wafer.
was also thinking, so when I was like, I think I was 17 at the time, because I started driving a Ford Taurus and then it died. And so all that was left was my parents had this big old GMC van, this white. It had windows, but it was still really sketchy. And I started driving that for years. And my friends all liked it because they called it the Chimo van.
Yeah.
So we were at church and we were all going to go to Walmart afterwards. And it was at night and it just rained. And when I first got into the church parking lot, I parked my van and I was right by, they had these black street lights, or parking lot lights.
Yeah.
And then they had this big cement base. And I thought I should remember that I parked next to that, but I didn't. So it was like there was rain on my windshield, and you're supposed to back out and then go, but there was no one in front of me, so I pulled forward and turned towards the exit, and my whole van went. What the hell is that? And so I pulled into a parking lot and got out, and the whole side door of my van was just dented and like these racing stripes scraped across the side of my van. And then I was just staring at it thinking, what the hell? And then I remembered, I was like, and then suddenly I heard a kabang! And I looked over and my friend had just backed into the guy behind him. It was not a good night. Yeah, so we all went to Walmart with broken cars.
So like in my high school group of friends, everyone had a Camaro of different years, but me, I had a Toyota Paseo.
I don't know if you should be telling these like a wreck story while you're driving trucks.
Oh, well, this was fine. It wasn't on my record or anything. And then
record.
I knew you were going to go there, and I just couldn't stop it from happening.
It's kind of a disease that I have. It's like
it's worse than AIDS. So. Yeah, they all have these supposedly fast cars. I mean, granted, like in the 80s and early 90s, Camaros looked fast, but weren't really all that much. And so I had this little cheap Toyota Paseo, which is basically like a Honda Del Sol, which was like the small Civic that was like a two-seater, but like Toyota made a version of it almost.
I remember you mentioned it. I'd never heard of it, so I looked up pictures, and it was not fancy looking.
Yeah, this tiny little
It was not
car.
a sports car.
Yeah, sporty is what they call it. Yeah. But anyways, we're in the parking lot of a Bilo.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a grocery store in the South, and we decided to race each other through this parking lot for some retarded teenage reason. And it was nighttime, and like the parking lot had all these like little grass islands in it with light poles, except one of them didn't have a light pole. And so you can imagine what happened. We're going like 70 miles an hour through this parking lot, and then all of a sudden my car just jumps off the ground Dukes of Hazzard style. I was like holding a cigarette in my hand at the time, like holding the wheel, and then all of a sudden, boop, gone. And then like, so immediately I slam on brakes after the car, lands back on the ground and everything. And as I'm slowing down, I just hear this, and that was air leaving my tire because it had bent the rim. And,
Rest in peace, suspension.
Yeah. It was just crazy. Plus the cigarette where it ended up going was I had a beaded seat cover like a freaking cab driver. And it had bounced out of my hand and went back there. And because of the beaded seat cover, I didn't feel it for a second. And so like, I'm trying to just like make sure like everything's like okay in the car at first and wondering what happened. And then all of a sudden like my back just like lights up. I didn't like physically catch on fire, but like it definitely burned a hole in my shirt. And like I had to jump out of the car real quick and try to find where it was and bat it out of there. But yeah, that was pretty dumb and did not work out very well for me.
Well, racing is the reason my Ford Taurus died, because
Racing a Ford Taurus.
we were at a red light, and my friend was in his Intrepid, and this was sportier than mine, and so I floored it. And the whole car started going, and I was like, that was weird. So we went to my buddy's house, and we played game, like we were having a LAN party or hanging out. I can't remember that specific night, but I drove it home like at 4 a.m, and I got to a stoplight or a stop sign because I was taking the back roads, and it was acting funny. And then I got home and I pulled up the ramp to go into the driveway, and it went, just it wouldn't go forward anymore. The transmission or whatever was shot. So I had to get into the driveway, so I ended up backing around the block and then backing into the driveway. So that was the end of my Ford Taurus.
So that's the story of the first time Brian blew a tray.
Holy shit.
So at least we got something funny out of this.
All right.
Thank you.
What else can I get you?
This is fine.
Okay.
I'll probably need more water. Thank you. This is all I really wanted, really. I just wanted people to be able to watch us eat.
Yeah.
That's why I thought I'd set the cameras up.
So for those of you at home, I got the, I don't know why that was the funny thing, but I got the Eggs Benedict hash browns.
Stupid. Welcome to Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
I don't think
water.
you can actually use that. Lost Context Foodcast.
There you go. So you've never been in Iraq? Besides that?
Well, I've been in one bed as a passenger.
Oh.
Broke my jaw and my thumb for the second time.
Do I know that story? I don't remember if you've told that one.
Probably not.
When you just like spend the next month or two just your mouth hanging open or what?
No, mouth wired shut.
Holy shit. How long did that last for?
For about like 3.5 weeks.
Oh jeez.
Best 3.5 weeks of my family's life.
Did I mention when we were coming home after the LAN party and my friend had stayed up all night, but he was driving, it was his birthday. So I was probably, I can't remember if I was driving yet. I was probably 16. But we'd all hitched a ride and carpooled because I had my 18-year-old nerdy friend didn't even have a license. He just shuttled everywhere with people. And so anyway, we were all at this all-nighter LAN party, and we went home after breakfast at like, I don't know, 7 or 8 in the morning, and my buddy was driving, and we actually was just down this highway here. I was dozing off already, and he started to doze off, and so as he made the turn, he started to veer into the oncoming traffic lane, and my nerdy guy, he like reached over from the passenger side and jerked the wheel, and he goes, "Hugh!" And Hugh goes, "Huh?" And I woke up too. And suddenly I saw these cars coming at us, and our car went, "Ert!" And then my nerdy friend was like, "We have computers in the back."
That's awesome.
So that was probably the closest I ever came to dying. I wasn't entirely used to driving my big old van yet, and I pulled into the bank drive-thru. And as I was pulling out, I tore up the whole side of a pillar. And I got scared and drove off. So those are the two. Both on the van and both tearing up the side of it. Other than that, I've never been in Iraq.
Yeah, we'll probably have to make this a topic on the next show, because I bet Tim's got some crazy driving stories.
Oh, yeah. Not Wesley, though. Wesley's probably...
Well, driving cattle.
breaks, you